We got a new movie review this week. Whoa. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another 0 Point Reviews with Jeff and Kev. This time we're going back to 2000 and what was it, Kevin? 5 and Keanu Reeves and Constantine. You got any memories of this one real quick before we get into the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Yeah, man, I think this is one of the first DVDs I bought, if not one of the first movies I saw when I first moved up to Oregon.
Oh, that's how you saw this. Okay.
Yeah, I remember getting the big box set and all the girls at work thinking like, oh, yeah, I could borrow that. I'm like, yeah, you can.
Oh, you stood.
Yeah. That worked once.
Hey, it only had to work once.
That's true.
Yeah, for me, I actually saw this in theaters when it first came out because I didn't know much about like the franchise or what the comic book it was based on or anything like that. When saw it at the theater, saw it day one, no girl for me. Single at that moment, but I enjoyed this movie, and then I found out what the comic book it was based on, and I'm like, oh, okay. And still like the movie. Own it on Blu-ray. Very pleased with that. I got it floating over on the other table over here. But Kevin, what are some good things about Constantine?
The good? Well, let's see here. I know last week I said where I start out with the good that I hate fire effects. And I know I put fire effects in the good picture. I know that's probably confusing, but that trip to hell was one of the better scenes in this movie.
So dope.
So when I say I hate fire VFX, I truly do. And are there a lot of fire VFX in this movie? Sure, but they don't use them the way that they used to use them. They use them as like background color. And then all the images in hell, like all the cars that would be there in real life that are actually in hell, it looks like Silent Hill where they're all kind of like being snapped by Thanos or something, like just being withered away. And so that's more of what hell looks like than it is fire. And so it was really more of an accent. And I liked that. That was one of the better uses, better parts of this film is knowing their limitations and how to get around that.
That's very true. That's what I consider one of the best parts of this movie too, is the visual effects for this particular era of film makes modern day special effects look like kindergartners are playing in the computer with a bunch of malware on it. Like it looks so good. Now, not all of it, it's not flawless all the way through. There are moments where it's like, I don't know about this, I don't know about that. However, a good 95% of the special effects in this movie are ridiculously good for this era, and they hold up very well even today because of how they used it, how they shot it, how it was rendered. They clearly planned out a lot of these things before they even got to making the movie, something called previs. Welcome to Hollywood.
Previs. I thought they stopped doing that with Wolverine Origins.
Yeah, right. Just find a Wade Wilson and sew his mouth up.
Sew his mouth up. But to your point with those effects, they kind of took the VFX back a little bit, where they have those horrendous effects in the dark, so it doesn't look cheesy and campy. But that's okay because they made them look light enough to where you could still make out in the dark, oh my gosh, this man is made out of bugs and crabs and all sorts of other insects. Like, it was truly impressive, even though, well, we'll get into it a little bit later. It was more impressive than it was terrifying.
Yes, I would completely agree with that. There was still nice haunting imagery and some good creepiness to the designs, but nothing that would make you go, oh my God, what the hell? That's kind of like putting the hairs on my neck up. It doesn't give you that kind of terrifying chills that you would expect out of like demons from hell and like monsters that Constantine has to deal with.
Yeah, like the best that they showed, and I know I already showed it before, but was these demons here. And you can't have a bunch of little dudes running around with half a head. So, of course, they were all CG.
Yes.
But again, they were colored so well that it didn't look terrible. Like they blended in fairly well to the point where it didn't
Yes.
look fake. They looked like they belonged in hell.
Right.
The scene where it jumps out of the mirror, that was a little goofy, but the concept of it,
Yeah.
the enjoyment factor of it was part of the good. It was so original where you're kind of like, I don't care how silly that looks. That's cool.
Yeah, that's where you get a pass on some of the goofier scenes. Like the thing I think of most is the cows dropping dead when the one guy is coming across with his dagger with the spear of destiny, I'm sorry. And the cows are just suddenly dropping and then dying. I don't have so much of a problem as they're turning to ash as he starts to go. It's just you can kind of feel like it looks a little too gamey, so to speak, like video gamey, not the other gamey. But it just seems like that, or they just made me kind of like smile and go, "Yeah, that wasn't that great, but fucking whatever." It's still a fun idea, and there's still good detail work because the cows keep decaying into ash, sand, and then withering away. It's just how it keeps going along in the background. I'm like, I can tell where they stack these on top of everything.
That was so Peter didn't get pissed off.
Yeah, probably. I mean, my wife and I just watched Blazing Saddles like yesterday, and man, there's some scenes where it's like he punched a horse and this, that, and the other. I'm like, man, I hope there wasn't any PETA officials around back then.
I don't know. I don't think so, but you never know.
You never know.
You never know. So, but that all having been said, the special effects, like I said, were more impressive than they were terrifying. And not to jump the gun too terribly fast, but that led me to the bad. This movie is
I'm not ready for that quite yet.
You're not ready for that? I'm not.
Not ready for the bad.
I was just saying it's not scary. I wanted to be scared.
Oh, that's fine. We can recap
That's
that.
all I was saying.
Okay. I was going to say, if you're trying to completely throw our segments off, Kevin, we can go back to 0 point reviews.
No.
Yeah. The other thing I just wanted to touch upon super quick is I love like the set design and cinematography in this movie and the sound design. It's usually pretty good. I do have some ADR issues I have with some of the sound effects that they used later on in the movie with like some of the demon screechings and whatnot. Just seemed kind of generic at that point. Like once you get it far enough along in the movie, it's like, I don't know if that sounds quite correct. It can take you a little out of the film. It's not too bad. I wouldn't even call it a bad thing. It's just, there's a thing here or there. It's like, I don't think Rachel Weisz can scream like that in a demonic voice. Although we might want to ask Brendan Fraser from The Mummy about that one. He might have a better idea about that.
I was going to say, I don't know that she could scream at all. I've never seen her in a film where she's screaming.
Yeah.
Psst, I'm getting ahead of myself again.
Yep. And I don't want to 0 point us any further, but that's, I basically love the look of the film and how it sounds, visual effects. I even would say the movie is completely enjoyable and it's well paced. I think it's got good editing and a good runtime. I think they did pretty good overall with the overall enjoyment on that. I know that it's more of a final judgment topic, but I just want to say aesthetically, the movie is very well put together.
Considering it's all done in Los Angeles, yes.
Yep.
And again, like I said at the beginning, this is all hindsight talking when I sound like I'm complaining. Los Angeles is not the most beautiful of all places.
Well, I made the joke when they first showed Hellscape LA. I said this to my wife while we're watching. I'm like, wow, they certainly pegged modern day LA, no problem. And she's like, I think there's a little less smog in this movie.
It's nice on the tin today.
Yeah. That was super funny.
No, but I liked like you said, the visuals that they'd done. I liked the character design that they did, specifically for Gabriel.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Gabriel's final form had patients that she'd gotten to commit suicide, I think. Or there was some story to all the bracelets that she'd had from the insane asylum patients.
Yeah, some of that wasn't explained very well.
Yeah,
that is kind of a drawback to that.
There was a companion comic book that came with the DVD or the special edition DVD that I think explained that, and it might have been mentioned in the special features, but otherwise, no, it's not really all that broadly mentioned.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin. What is bad about Constantine?
Hindsight, man. The hindsight to this movie is just really kind of getting to me, and I wish. I sound terrible when I say this. I wish I'd never seen that goddamn TV show because it's too good for this.
With Matt Ryan, everybody?
Yes. The TV show managed to be scary. It managed to have all these terrible creature effects and still scare you. This is a product of Warner Brothers putting out a movie and wanting to be safe. And what they did is they put out Constantine Light. It's like I told you.
It's still an R-rated movie, though, but it doesn't quite go as dark and deep as the source material or even the TV show does. I think that's what you're getting at, correct?
Did they say fuck? Because that might have earned them the hard rating or the hard R.
Maybe once. There's a few shits, but I think it's largely for the violence and the... I don't know. I'd have to go back and double check what they flagged it for.
The shotgun battle at the end. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. Because otherwise, like, this is a pretty tame and civil movie. There's really not a whole lot of actual satanic imagery that you're going to see. A lot of it's implied. A lot of it's them making symbols and telling you that it is satanic.
That's true.
Keanu doesn't look anything like Constantine does in the comics. So it's like I was saying, it's almost like watching the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie. Yes, you're enjoying it, and yes, you are spiritually watching the Punisher, but at the same time, it doesn't look anything like the Punisher.
True.
And then beyond that, the worst of the bad for me was Rachel Weisz. Not just as a character, but as an actress. I did not care for her in this picture.
I don't think she had much chemistry with Keanu, and I think that hurt it. Now, I don't mind the relationship. She's not really a love interest for him.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of imply that there's an interest, but there's no kiss. He doesn't get the girl. There's nothing remotely romantic between the two. You don't even feel it on screen. So that I think that kind of like doesn't work that great in the movie, because I think people would be more drawn into them having a connection of that sort, not just, hey, I'm hiring you. Like you go back to like Lord of Illusions with by Clive Barker with Scott Bakula in it. Scott Bakula and Famke have great chemistry together, and that's what drove that movie forward. These two didn't have that kind of chemistry. They had the kind of acquaintance relationship, but when you're in that kind of a friend zone, it's hard to kind of push a narrative forward, even though the story is decent. I wouldn't say the story's great, but like to your point, I don't think Rachel was like the best choice for this movie. Even though I liked her in it, I wouldn't say I loved her in it. I'd actually put her and Keanu. This is where I go into the bad as well. Keanu, I like his portrayal, but he's not Constantine. He looks way too young. He's not this grizzled, guy whose life has been eating away at him for however many years with terminal cancer, chain smoker, raging alcoholic, and totally involved with the dark arts. Like, I don't think he encapsulated that. Now, if you were to tell me like that the proposed second Constantine movie is coming out, the sequel, I would say now you're getting into a Keanu who could probably do it now, but can he actually do a British accent? Because this is supposed to be a British guy. and they completely Americanized it. That's where I start to call the movie a little bit bad. Now, I like Keanu in this movie. Do not get me wrong. But once you start watching the other TV shows, the animated shows, the animated features, even go to the source material, you're going to look at this as like the bastard stepchild of what the hell are they doing with Constantine in this movie? They got this right, but they got a lot of that wrong. And then the other thing I wrote down for bad is they had a hard time explaining characters and little tidbits that would have been helpful for people. Like you talked about Gabriel for a moment, about the wristbands. That plays into the beginning and part of the movie throughout, but they never explain that Gabriel has something to do with that either. And then they don't explain Chaz, played by Shia LaBeouf, everybody, 2 years before he did Transformers. And so I feel like the writing is a bit on the bad side. Like, I know you just heard me say, I like the writing. I'm not saying it's good, though. The main story line, I like. They had a detail problem, though. So you're trying to figure out, who's this Chaz person? How does he know how to make a goddamn bullet? Yes, he's supposed to be an apprentice, but what the hell's he fucking doing here? Like, literally, how is he with Constantine? You don't even explain that. And so there's a bunch of that going on. It kind of, once you really get down to the nitty gritty of the movie, the details would have helped greatly with a lot of understanding of the world of Constantine and Constantine himself too, because they barely allude to him anyway, outside of his lung cancer and who he is currently.
Correct. All they make John out to be is a PI, a private detective that works in the occult circuit and is trying to make brownie points to get back into heaven. That's all. It doesn't mention that he's had this love affair with the dark arts, that he's screwed over everybody. Like Lucifer mentions it at the end that he's a con artist, but they don't really show you that here. Like I said, it's Constantine light. It's not bad,
right?
But once you get a real taste of what this character is and how
or could be,
you're like, I'm missing something here. I'm completely missing something, and that took away enjoyment for me. And again, it was just hindsight, because prior to watching the TV series, I've never had a problem watching this movie before.
Yeah, neither have I, even though I haven't watched this literally since the show first aired on NBC years ago. Yeah. And for anybody interested in checking out our review coverage of the TV show, we'll put a little link down below, or just check out our video channel. Look for the Constantine TV series. It is uploaded, and it is a fun time.
Yeah, like whether you are familiar with the character or not, that is just a damn good TV series.
Yep. And if you find it in the right place online, you can get it with the original soundtrack. Not whatever they put out on the Blu-ray, which is just a generic knockoff because they didn't want to pay the music rights for it. And that's my last show moment. But if you want to get that TV show DVD or the Blu-ray for this movie right here, we'll have an Amazon affiliate links down below. If you are interested in acquiring those, that kicks us a few cents, keeps the lights on around here.
That's true. That's true. Mentioning though the dark arts, I did go back and get that picture that you asked for. This was the scene here where you're just kind of like, oh yeah, that is him acting like Constantine. Hell yeah.
This is dope. This is one of those memorable scenes for me. And it's like, that'd be a cool scene for like our final judgment segment. But I like what you did instead anyway. So, but I love when he did that, and just the visual effects that surrounded that with the pool and the hospital and how everything got revealed. I'm like, that is how you do an epic and beautiful movie like this. And they did hit the epic tones to this movie. They even fucking brought Lucifer in at the very end as kind of like the ace up the sleeve for Constantine. And I really appreciated that. And I loved who they cast.
Oh, no one better. Like, and I'm sorry to Viggo Mortensen, like, you'll always be my guy, but Peter Stormare as the devil was just the shiznit.
Like, dude is so dope. I've seen him in so many different things, and he's fantastic and chilling. He's even in the Until Dead video game.
Totally is he awesome. Really?
Yeah, yes. That's why I always recommend playing that game. Stories, but it's fun as hell. And it can get you with a few jump scares here and there.
Nice. He is one of the true greats.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I thought he was a very good Lucifer compared to, say, like John Glover and Brimstone.
Different kind
very
of Lucifer.
Different, but he had a certain charisma and evilness to him. It's like, oh, it was so good.
And he was an animal at the same time. Very animalistic, and it showed. He wasn't afraid to show it.
I love how pissed he was when Constantine kind of pulled one over on him at the end too. But even though there is a good question that my wife and I were discussing about before we hit up to the ugly section of this review, is she said, if he's supposed to be this all-knowing devil, and doesn't he know everything that's already going on and he just doesn't care, or was he really caught by surprise by everything that's happening? And I said he was probably aware up to a point, but when it's his own son who's kind of playing his own game, he's not going to tell dad everything. So he probably didn't know about the Spear of Destiny. Once he heard the Spear of Destiny, that's when he seemed to put the light in the eye went off. Somebody hit the switch and it's like, wait, what? Oh, he's trying to do that? I'll be right back, Constantine. Don't die yet. That's kind of how I read that situation, is he just did not know about that spear, but the overall long game of, I'm going to kill myself to sacrifice for somebody else will send me to heaven, and you can't take me with you, asshole. So I'm going to take out what's killing you, heal you back up, keep you back on earth, and I'm going to come back and claim your soul eventually. So it was kind of a neat little play, but it does make you wonder, how much did the devil truly not know? And were they really trying to go for the devil got mind screwed by Constantine?
Well, I mean, it could be argued that Gabriel was clouding his visibility.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a little divine clouding of his judgments. But I also agree with what you said about the Antichrist not being, or being able to do its own thing, hidden. You would figure so.
Right.
So, but yeah, he was wild. I dug him.
Yeah.
I dug him.
Peter. Yeah.
But I think Gabriel was probably hiding him and therefore not counting on him being a problem.
Oh, that was dope when when he strolls on in there and he's like, I don't think you have the backing you used to have anymore. They're not on your side. I think you've been shunned, bitch. Rips the wings right the fuck off. That was so dope. Oh.
Someone doesn't have your back anymore.
That was so good.
And then her, like, so excited. Oh, go ahead and kill me. It's okay.
Here's your gun. Aim it right here. No, I'm just going to punch you. You can keep on living, you psycho.
Yeah, and then the look of what the fuck is that on her face when he said, oh, that's pain. You're going to want to get used to that.
Yep.
That killed me inside. That's like where I was kind of like, oh, goodness, the script got good finally. They got the writers in. Yay!
Yay!
Because prior to that, some of the dialogue is where I would have is in the bad section. Dialogue could have been picked up here and there. And again, I think that's also because of the chemistry amongst a lot of the actors, Rachel. But yeah, I think that's all I had for the bad. Dialogue was the last one on there.
What about the ugly Kevin?
The ugly. So
you one ugly motherfucker.
The ugly motherfucker. So the ugly I've talked a bit about. There's no fear in this movie. There is no horror in this movie. The R comes from the action, I'm guessing, at the end.
I
which
think so. That and the tone about suicide, possibly.
could be so.
That was
Yes,
my guess, anyway.
because this is a safe movie. This is a movie, again, my kids could watch, and I'm not worried about it. They're not going to see anybody getting their face eaten off or their soul devoured. Nothing that terrible whatsoever. Like, the worst you're going to see was bad VFX of demons trying to claw out of Rachel Weisz's stomach.
That was going to be, that's one of those 5% I was talking about earlier about the ugly special effects or bad special effects.
Yeah, where you're just kind of like, I guess they didn't really have a choice of anything else better to do, but
Yeah.
They did that way better in 1983 with Nightmare on Elm Street, or 82, whenever they actually filmed that trick.
Touche. They even did it better in the Frighteners when they were doing the Reaper on the wall.
Yes, and those were practical effects.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that wasn't, but one of the things I that we should point out, and yes, the ugly is Gavin Rossdale, because I fucking can't stand dude. But the makeup effect that they had on him here was a mixture of, again, both practical and CGI, and it did look pretty good on him here.
Kudos to Stan Winston for the practical effects.
Yeah, I can't knock the effects there.
Yeah. I would have added that to the good if I would have remembered and wrote it down, but I saw Stan Winston did the effects in the credits, and I'm like, holy shit, no wonder why half that stuff looks so damn good.
Yeah. I mean, the demons, even though they look creepy, like, I'm sure the actual puppet model for the demons with the half a head probably looked amazing. Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree with you on the ugly. Like, the movie, while it has some horrificness to it, it is very much missing the horror tone. Like, it feels dark, it feels supernatural, it feels like it's trying to do that without actually doing it. And so I felt like, the movie didn't really have any teeth, so to speak. Yes. And I feel like that's what was the biggest thing missing out of this movie, and probably the ugliest thing is I would have liked something a bit scarier rather than let's play with the prophecy and the Constantine comic books and see what we can come up with together in a blender.
Yeah, and then we're going to make this movie so bubblegum to pack as many seats in this theater as we can that we're going to actually end this movie with bubblegum. Perfect.
Nicotine bubblegum.
Yes, so where
he's trying to quit smoking.
Yeah, and does so by chewing gum, and you're just kind of like, you work for Chuli's Gum, don't you, motherfucker?
I would have given him the patch. Just would have rolled up his sleeve, showed the rest of his tattoos, and going.
Kind of, yeah, like just rub it on there. Keep rubbing it on there.
But he's still going to go back and drink him a bottle of Ardbeg scotch, which I totally appreciated. I'm an Ardbeg guy.
So did that spider.
A little bit of smoke for the spider. Gotta have the smoke.
In the regard to what you were saying with the darkness that they tried putting in, they edited in practical effects, but it was so goddamn fast that you had to pause it and get it on accident to be like, oh wow, they covered that guy with flies.
Yep.
But they covered it up with CG, and you couldn't tell what was what for the most part in that scene. But they did a really good job. That actor had all that shit all over his fucking face for nothing.
Right.
That sucks for him. Like, he went and did that. Show it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. But, the other side of ugly for me is just some of the casting choices. I don't think they casted the movie all that great. Most of it is cast perfectly. But there are some missteps with some of the casting choices. I don't really even like Shia LaBeouf in this movie, like, at all. I think he does a better job in Transformers. Seems like he's playing more himself in that kind of a movie. This one, he just feels kind of like a stand-in for somebody else, or somebody said they couldn't do the job anymore and they needed somebody super quick for the schedule. Same thing with Rachel Weisz and her relationship with Keanu. Basically, their chemistry on screen, their chemistry was fucking nothing. Not happening. Wasn't even there. So those are kind of my ugly points.
Kinda. I don't even see like him really being all that keen to listen to her story in the first place. And I know he wasn't.
Yeah.
But even after the demons were coming after him, I don't necessarily see John being like as emotionally invested as Keanu kind of was in her in this.
Right, right.
Just because her character was really rather annoying.
Yeah, pretty much. Like he almost had to be like screaming her head off just to get her to answer a legit question about her life, her psychic powers, and what was really happening.
Yes. Yeah. Like people.
And in
wound
those
up...
moments, I believe that chemistry where he's so fucking annoyed with her.
The scene just lit up and it was fire.
Like there was the energy. He needed them yelling at each other the whole movie, which you could have done, which we've seen in the show. Like he argues with half the women he's interacting with.
That's true. Or they're sitting there telling him what a sleazy piece of shit he is.
And he's like, yeah, so.
That's how this job gets done, love.
Now, I do feel like Keanu. Do we want to head into final judgment, Kevin?
We can give the final judgment.
I do feel Keanu does care about this role and this movie. He's always said he'd like to come back and do another sequel to it. They've been working on it for years. I do feel he understands what the role really needed and what to do going forward. He strikes me as the kind of guy that really does care about his work. You just look at John Wick. Look at any of his movies for like the last 15 years. He gives it everything. He's one of the nicest dudes in Hollywood, super talented, very hardworking. I do believe if they got another sequel going, and the rumors are out there that this is going to be an Elseworlds movie, Constantine 2 with Keanu, so it's not going to tie into anything. I think he could do a really good job. The question is, will the rest of the movie be good around him? Like, he's going to have to be on him like Ryan Reynolds was with Deadpool. It's going to have to be way more involved than I wonder if he even really wants to be. But if they can do it, I would ask, hey, you can't get rid of the American accent, but can you at least get a little more grizzled up and look a little bit more like Constantine?
Yeah. Can you act like you just lost some little girl's soul on accident?
Yep. And actually explain that. So there's something good that could be coming, but overall assessment on this movie from me, despite the good, the bad, and the ugly, I do give this movie a good thumbs up. This is a fun movie. It is very much enjoyable. You just sit back, relax, not too much to think about. And when there is a nice little fun little twist, it'll make you smile. So it's definitely worth enjoying. But as a Constantine movie, this does miss the mark by comparison to all the other iterations.
I would unfortunately agree as well. Like it's a safe movie. It is a fun movie. You are going to enjoy the action in it. The monsters are fun to look at. And
special effects are awesome, everybody. Just saying.
Yes. And I did throw in one little extra segment to the good, bad, and the ugly. I threw in the not too shabby.
Ooh, what's the not too shabby, Kevin? Honorable mentions. Here we go.
Rachel Weisz's black bra when she was in the water was not too shabby.
And in some scenes, it was a black with a sheerness to it, too. So you could actually see through it without seeing through it.
Yeah, it's a very fleshy looking color with no nipple. And I was like, oh, I like it.
Would you say she won the wet t-shirt contest in Constantine?
No, I think the Mexican guy that was kicking her ass still did.
Touche.
That guy just went.
Represent, yo. Welcome to 0 Point Reviews, everybody, as we talk about Constantine 2005. Kevin, any last thoughts before we say goodbye to everybody?
Oh, only that I'm sorry that I ever met that goddamn Matt Ryan and ruined this movie for us.
Me too. But hey, Still an enjoyable movie. Check those links down below for Amazon affiliates. You want to check this movie out? It's available on streaming. It's available just about anywhere. If you want to own a copy, do click that link down below. Got a link for that TV show too. Pretty damn dope. All right. Thank you everybody for tuning in. If you like this video, please hit the little like button. You got any thoughts, comments? What do you think is the good, the bad, the ugly with Constantine? I want to hear about it. We may reply to you. So please hit that subscribe button if you want to join us the rest of the way. Hit that little bell notification. You should get notified unless YouTube wants to tell you to go to hell. But we aren't. So thank you for tuning in. We'll see you all on the next one. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at SunsAndShadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.